Just going to knock out this heat transfer study guide really quickly. Again, not trying to hide the fact that the answer key is in the back. That's there for you to check yourself when you're going through this. Let's get going on this. As I look at this first question, and this is the way that I would approach the test, what best describes heat transfer by radiation? There's one word in that question that I want to focus on the most. What word do you think that is? Ariana? Radiation. I really want to look a little closer at this word. Now, we all have a good definition of that, but let's make it real short and simple. What is radiation? Caroline? Heat waves, right? We know it's not touching. We know it's not air. We know it's not water. Those are other things. It's heat waves. Bacon frying in a pan. What type of heat transfer is that, Austin? That's conduction. And why is it conduction? There's touch. So that can't be what we're talking about. A pot on a stove, boiling water. A couple of things we've got going on there. Caroline? I like the boiling water. I'm just going to label that as convection. If you want to talk about the fact that the pot is touching the stove, that's conduction. That's fine too. But neither one of those are radiation, are they? Not a good answer. A campfire warming hands. Well, back when we talked about radiation, we gave two examples. The sun and, Seth, warming yourself by a fire. Beside the fire. Remember, over the fire is not, that's something different. But yeah, I really like this answer. I'm going to check my last one. A hot air balloon. What's going on in a hot air balloon, Wilmer? Hot air. So we know hot air going up and cold air going down is going to be convection. So just by looking at the key word and looking at what all four of these mean, we know that the answer to this is C. I know you don't have a physical copy of the test, but you can highlight words and you have sheets of paper that you're allowed as many as you want when you're taking a test online, and you could be writing these things, correct? All right. Let's take a look at this next one here.
Wait.
What best describes, and I'm going to highlight what I think is the most important, the flow of heat. This was, if I'm not mistaken, the first thing that I put on our anchor chart because I could turn around and see it. How does heat move in heat transfer? How does heat move? Come on, new hands. How does heat move? Will? Flows from hotter to colder. So is it from a larger object to a smaller object? No. From a warmer object to a cooler object. Is that the same thing as saying from hot to cold? I like that answer. From a cooler object to a warmer object? No. Very easily we know the answer on this one is B. What I want you to do is I need you to be very careful. This is one of those questions where you could read this and in your mind say it the right way, but it's written the wrong way. Take your time, especially when you have all they're doing is switching these words. You know that one of them's right and one of them's wrong. Slow down on those. Take a few extra seconds. We're not doing 7-second questions like we do on the quizzes, right? We're taking our time on those. Number 3. What causes your skin to feel warm in the sun on a summer day? Okay, well, we've already talked about this earlier, just a few questions up. What is the sun involved with? What is the sun involved with, Ashley? The sun is involved with radiation. Particles in the atmosphere reflect energy from the sun downward. No. Well, the big thing is we haven't talked about particles in the atmosphere at all.
No.
There are some there, but you know that I would have at least told you about that. Particles from the sun still carry some heat when they reach your skin. Are there any particles involved with the sun? No, it's heat waves. So that can't be the answer. The solar wind carries heated air from the sun to the Earth's surface. If it was heated air, what would that be? If it was heated air, what type of heat transfer would that be? Austin. Be convection. And I'm not looking for convection because everyone in here told me that the sun is involved with radiation. Well, I know the answer is probably D, but I'm going to read it. The sun, what? Radiates energy that passes through space and the atmosphere to your skin. I know these are very wordy. I know that it could be very tricky, but my goodness, you could just say sun and radiation and then find that key word here, and you would know that D is the right answer. You just have to take that extra time to do that. When it has the word best, Savannah, what does that mean? Usually means there's what? Probably more than one good answer, right? What best describes the transfer of heat due to the movement of gases or liquids? When I see movement of gases and liquids, what do I think of? Ava. She says convection, and I would agree with that. I mean, we saw that personally in class, all of us. So we know it's not radiation, we know it's not evaporation, we know it's not condensation. You answered it because it has the definition in the question. Convection. A pot of water is placed on the stove. The water begins to boil rapidly. Why does the water begin to boil faster? What am I looking at when I'm boiling water? What kind of heat transfer am I already talking about? Jamari. Convection. Because that is hot water going up and cold water coming down, and we saw that in class yesterday. The cooler water is rising. Do I need to read any more? No, because cool water does what, Talon? Sinks. The warm water is rising in the pot to replace the cooler water on the top through the process of radiation. Holy cow, that sounded perfect until what? Radiation. Man, they had everything correct in there but that. Can't be the answer. The warm water is rising. Sounds good so far. To replace the cooler water on the top. Yes. In a process called?
Convection.
Well, we just defined that a minute ago. I'm almost certain that's the answer. The cooler water is rising. Do I need to read any more? No. Well, even if you had gone through that, you could eliminate two of those as wrong. Cooler water does not rise. Then you would have had a 50-50 shot. You see radiation and convection, and you're good. All right. On a hot day in the sun, Robert uses a foam can holder to keep his drink cool. When we talked about foam to keep something cool, there were two words that we were looking at. What were those words that we were looking for, Caroline? Conductor and insulator, and this one is an insulator. Foam insulates the cold drink. I mean, I haven't even read the answers yet, and I feel like I answered that just by interacting with the question. Foam reflects cold air from the can. No. Foam reflects heat from the sun off the can. I guess maybe if it's white, I don't know. Did it say what color the foam can holder was? So I can't assume that it's a light color, right? That's an okay answer. These are okay. Foam conducts heat between the can and the air. No, you told me that foam is an insulator. Well, which one of those is the best answer? Yeah, A is the best answer. I'm assuming way too much if I answer C. I'm going to skip 7 just because it's an open response. 8. What material is most likely, again, best answer, to expand if exposed to freezing temperatures? Now, I want to ask you this. What do most materials do when they are frozen? Most materials do what? Austin. when they freeze? What was that word we used yesterday? The molecules start to get closer and closer. Most materials contract. Most of them get smaller. Your sidewalks, your railroad tracks, your bridges. That material gets a little smaller when it's cold. Remember, that's why they have those gaps in the bridges and the train tracks. There is one substance that we talked about that actually expands, which means to get bigger, when you put it into a freezing temperature. Is it iron, wood, water, or plastic? Fatia. It is water, and that is why you cannot put your water bottle in the freezer unless you want to break it. So remember contract and remember expand. An engineer has to choose from 4 different materials to make a heat-resistant handle for a stirring spoon. When I say heat-resistant, what does that make this object? Leslie? Insulator. And to insulate from heat, would it be ceramic, wood, glass, or iron? And we saw this in class yesterday when I put those 3 different spoons in the super hot water. Which one was the best insulator? Wood is your best insulator. When I look at number 10, it says, what happens to metal railroad tracks during the heat of a summer day? Now, I know that we have talked about this. When I heat objects, what happens to them? There's a word, there's a certain word I want you to start using. Sally. They expand. And when I freeze or super cool something, there's another word that they do. What's the other word that's the opposite of expand? Do what? It's decreased, but there was a word that we used. Contract. You were on the right track. So I have expansion and contraction. Earlier in this video, you will hear us talking about water is very odd. When it freezes, it expands. That's why it's such a unique element. But in this one, I'm talking about the railroad tracks during a hot summer day. What would they do? They would expand. Do they decrease in weight? No. Do they increase in weight? No. Do they decrease in length? Do they get shorter? Well, that would be contraction. This is summer day, so it's not that. Do they increase in length? That is expansion. That is why sidewalks, bridges, railroad tracks have those spaces in between there to allow for the different seasons and have expansion and contraction. A cooler made from which materials would be best to keep food cold? When I want to keep food cold, what am I wanting to do? What type of material would I use? Jocelyn. Conductor or an insulator? I need to find an insulator. Is plastic, paper, or wood the best insulator? Because I look at that and they're all insulators. Best insulation. We designed coolers in class, didn't we? What did pretty much everyone make theirs out of, Jocelyn? Plastic. Plastic. It was super sunny outside. Mike wanted to wear a shirt that would keep him cool. What color shirt? What do dark colors do? They absorb heat. What do light colors do? They reflect heat. Which of those would be the best color for him to wear? A black shirt, a white shirt, or a brown shirt? And when we designed our coats, we went through this one. Carly. White would be the best for reflection. And that.